every month of lockdown reduces your annual GDP growth by about 2 percentage points. So, if we look at the forecast of the OECD, they had two scenarios. One was, for instance, if we look at the UK, the one estimate was for a 12% fall, but if there were in GDP, but if there were a second outbreak, that becomes 14%. So you can see that, another month of this severe lockdown would have a pretty big impact.
I want to get to some of the measures that economists were working with that had been in place, and I'm talking about testing, tracing, wearing of masks, because each element here has been showing us some inconsistencies. On the testing side, there's been some criticism that the tests are not coming through quickly enough to make any difference. On the tracing side, there's been all sorts of problems with some of these tracing apps. And when it comes to mask wearing, there's been a lot of non-compliance as well. So what do you make of some of the assumptions that economists are working on, that these measures will be enough to ensure economies do not go into lockdown in future?
That's such a good question. And I think maybe what we need to think about, having had the first wave, is let's take measures whose economic cost is lower than a lockdown, and whose effectiveness could be equal. For example, much better hygiene, sterilization of public places, banning the big public gatherings, but allowing, small businesses to stay open. Probably with the experience we have, when we've got a lot of different states that we can look at, we could cobble together a set of measures that would help us avoid a lockdown. We have a really interesting case of Sweden versus Denmark, where Sweden did not lock down at all. However, it had 4 times the deaths per million of Denmark, which locked down immediately, but was the first country to go back and open schools. It seems the fear is a huge factor here. And so, I don't think it's a question of necessarily let's save the economy by not locking down, but we could think about other measures that would be equally effective in bringing down that rate of infection.